Considering some of the insane things people believed 50 years ago, it's a wonder any of our parents or grandparents survived long enough to realize how stupid they all were. Here are some of the things people really believed back then. Pregnancy can cause all kinds of weird body problems, and that includes constipation. Today, you have to eat healthy or possibly take a fiber supplement to relieve discomfort. But 50 years ago, doctors didn't bother with any of that healthy lifestyle mumbo-jumbo. Instead, they advised pregnant women to do the logical thing: smoke cigarettes. It's true, Alan F. Guttmacher, a legit gynecologist and obstetrician, said as much in his book, Pregnancy and Birth. The biggest thing Guttmacher wanted moms to avoid was unsightly weight gain, which he suggested be limited to 20 pounds. And if an expected mom was starting to get heavy, try skipping lunch and substitute skimmed milk with a few unsalted crackers. Nothing is more important than keeping your hot bod, right? Just another reason to keep up your smoking habits before your baby bump gets out of control. So if you know someone born in the late 60s and they came out a little weird, you probably have this guy to blame. Even though video games are a multi-billion-dollar industry today and heroic fat plumbers have become a global phenomenon, the seeds of the industry didn't even exist until 1967. That was when Ralph Baer assembled a prototype for the first home game system. Baer worked for a TV company, and even though he tried to sell them on the idea of including a game system with their televisions, nearly every one of his bosses was dismissive. Even though he got a little money to produce a prototype, overall, video games seemed pretty stupid to most of the executives he worked for. After all, who'd want to play some kind of electronic game on the TV when you had all the thrills of Monkey's Uncle?
And your monkey's uncle, it's wild! Complete with stunt mats, cards, horns, clickers, tricks, spinner, and monkey timer.
Patents were filed by 1971, and the device was sold to Magnavox, who sold it as the Odyssey. Unfortunately, by the time their system debuted, Atari's Pong stole all their glory. If only the execs in charge had realized what they had on their hands with Baer's invention, we could have met this kid.
My mission in life is to save all of mankind.
A few years sooner. After pumping your baby full of cigarettes, what else can you do to your kid to make them a good, healthy American? According to Dr. Walter W. Sackett Jr., the very first thing you should worry about after giving birth was the spread of communism. Okay, let's back up a second. In his 1962 book, Bringing Up Babies, Dr. Sackett felt that neither breast milk nor formula were enough for a newborn. So he said babies should start eating cereal within 2 days of escaping the womb. Don't let your complete lack of teeth stop you from chomping on those Cheerios, baby. By 9 weeks, according to the good doctor, a baby should be able to chow down on whatever else the family would normally eat. Sackett wasn't completely crazy. He did recommend waiting until a baby was 6 months old before starting with black coffee. And when your baby cries at night because its blood is basically 90% coffee now, don't even think about coddling it. Sackett insisted that a baby had to learn to suffer, and soothing a crying baby was very literally sowing the seeds of socialism. With just one lullaby, you might throw off the global balance of power. Way to go, you absolute monsters. Laser technology was only just developing 50 years ago, and a lot of what was predicted in the 1967 documentary The Laser Light Fantastic actually came true. We're now regularly using lasers for surgery and tattoo removal, just as predicted.
Laser surgery is still highly experimental. By the 21st century, a searing beam of laser light may join the scalpel as an essential surgical tool.
But they still got one thing very, very wrong. In the late 60s, inventors assumed that they'd need something to tackle the major epidemic of typewriter typos. The answer? That's right, lasers. Like the world's most boring sci-fi ray gun, the functional laser eraser would kind of blast a single letter right off the face of a piece of paper without damaging the paper itself. Understandably, this seemed like it'd be a pretty big deal when people actually type stuff with ink instead of pixels. Lasers work their magic, and before you know it, it's like your dumb floppy fingers never even typed that extra E in the first place. Listen to how impressed this guy is.
By golly, it works.
It does. All we need to do is miniaturize it and get it into mass production.
Your lowly secretarial job is saved, and it only took 10 minutes and harnessing the most advanced technology that the 60s had to offer. Thanks, lasers. History is full of crazy weight loss devices, but the craziest may be the vibrating belt workout machine, which was supposed to jiggle the fat off you while you just, stood there. According to the Orange County Register, the vibrating belt machine was a must-have device in fitness centers for decades, although most health experts knew they were essentially useless. Still, people continued to find variations on this device rather irresistible over the years.
Introducing the revolutionary Vibro Action Belt. Just turn it on and it will literally vibrate the fat away from your abs.
It won't work though. The most it'll do is vibrate your money right out of your wallet. One of the strangest trends of the 1960s was the obsession with all things gelatin and putting as many weird things inside it as possible. Yes, back in the middle of the 20th century, housewives seeking a creative, sadistic outlet put just about everything in Jell-O and other kinds of gelatin. Shaped Jell-O molds solved this problem because just about any food could become an elegant presentation, including things like this savory olive, cheese, celery, and tomato monstrosity. Or how about this delicious lime cheese salad, a delectable blend of fresh lime flavoring and a heaping pile of grated onion, cottage cheese, and mayonnaise. And don't forget the pile of unidentifiable seafood in the middle. Or how about this delightful shrimp and hard-boiled egg concoction recreated by the folks over at KOLR 10 News in Springfield, Missouri. Let's see how taking a big bite of the 1960s goes over with the gang.
Gosh.
Nope.
I gotta get I want to throw something out and I
That was not happening.
It's okay if you need to barf.
If you're gonna spew, spew into this.
50 years ago, people thought seatbelts were annoying and oppressive. In fact, most people didn't even want them in their cars. According to Second Chance Garage, customers were so fed up with seatbelts by 1949 that many people would actually cut them out of their cars with razor blades. By the early 1960s, seatbelts were offered as optional equipment on the vast majority of American cars, but that didn't really change anything. Most people simply didn't want them, and even people who had them in their cars tended not to use them. By 1966, only about 30% of cars on the road in America had seatbelts, and approximately 44% of the people driving those cars used them full time. In 1968, the powers that be finally passed a law requiring seatbelts as standard equipment in all cars, but that still didn't really change anything. The first mandatory seatbelt law in the United States didn't hit the books until the mid-1980s, and that was only in New York at first. No matter how obvious the benefits of wearing a seatbelt were, the message just wasn't getting through.
I'm just tired of trying to convince people to wear safety belts. No one's listening.
For some reason, it took routinely and literally being called dummies for people to finally accept that they should maybe take a step or two to prevent themselves from being flung through their car's windshields.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more messed up history videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.